Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining this morning. Shimaba from class and attend to Japa. And I'm sure, Pata Prabhu, you had plenty of Japa today. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll continue with our pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj, how he leaves his home, goes to the forest, meets Lord Narayan now, after proving himself worthy of a pure devotee, and the Lord Narayan has come to meet him. So we'll continue. So the great sage Maitreya told Vidur, so this is still Maitreya telling Vidur all these pastimes. When the demigods were thus reassured by the personality of Godhead, they were freed from all fears. And after offering their obeisances, they returned to their heavenly planets. Then the Lord, who is none different from the Sahasra Shirsha incarnation, got on the back of Garuda, who carried him to the Madhuvan forest to see his servant Dhruva. So according to Sri Rupa Goswami, in his Lagu Bhagavad Amrita, the Sahasra Shirsha personality Godhead who appeared at that time was the incarnation known as Rishni Garbha. He created the planet known as Dhruvlok for the inhabitant or the habitation of Dhruva Maharaj. So there's some background information there. Let's do a quick prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Kroti Vachalam Pangum Lamyate Garim Yat Kirpa Tamhamande Shri Guru Dim Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tassat Narayana Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Sasvit Vyasam Tato Jayamadiriyat Nastapeshavabdareshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nestiki. So the form of the Lord, now which Narayan has come to see Dhruv, Narayan's form is being described here. The form of the Lord, which was brilliant like lightning, and which Dhruva Maharaj in his mature yoga process was fully absorbed in meditation, all of a sudden disappeared. Thus Dhruva was perturbed and his meditation broke. So he was focusing on the form of the Lord, and the form of the Lord suddenly disappeared from his view in the heart. So, he sort of jumped, what's happened, what's gone wrong. But as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the Supreme Person of Godhead personally present, just as he had been seeing the Lord in his heart. So now the Lord was standing right in front of him. Because of his mature position in yogic meditation, Dhruva Maharaj was constantly observing the form of personality of Godhead within his heart. But all of a sudden, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead disappeared from his heart, he thought that he had lost him. Dhruva Maharaj was perturbed. Upon opening his eyes and breaking his meditation, he saw the same form of the Lord before him. The Sham Sundar form of the Lord within the heart of a devotee is not imaginary. Srila Prabhupada explains, when a devotee becomes mature in his prosecution of devotion service, he sees face to face the same Sham Sundar he has thought of during the entire course of his devotion service. Since the Supreme Lord is absolute, the form within the heart of a devotee, the form in the temple, and the original form in Vaikuntha, Vrindavan Dham are all the same. They are not different from one another. So when Dhruva Maharaj saw his Lord just in front of him, he was greatly agitated and offered him obeisances and respect. He fell flat before him like a rod and became absorbed in love of Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj in ecstasy looked upon the Lord as if he were drinking the Lord with his eyes, kissing the feet of the Lord, kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth, and embracing the Lord with his arms. Naturally, when Dhruva Maharaj personally saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, he was very much agitated in awe and respect. And it appeared as if he were drinking the entire body of the Lord with his eyes. The devotee's love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so intense that he wants to kiss the lotus feet of Lord constantly. And he wants to touch the tips of the toes of the Lord and constantly embrace his lotus feet. All these features of the Dhruva Maharaj bodily expression indicate that upon seeing the Lord face to face, he developed the 8 kinds of transcendental ecstasy in his body. So this is natural. This is natural for the soul to behave like that in front of God, because that is, if our love is awakened for God, then you get these symptoms as explained here. But because at the moment that love is dormant in our body, it's there in our heart, but it's dormant. And if it's awakened, then you will get all these symptoms. So although Dhruva Maharaj was a small boy, he wanted to offer praise to the Supreme Personality Godhead in suitable language. So now he has met the Lord, he wants to give some kind of praise that are suitable, that are worthy to God himself. But because he was inexperienced, he could not adjust himself immediately. So he just thinking, what's the best way to go about this? Only 5 years old. The Supreme Personality Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, could understand Dhruva Maharaj's awkward position. Out of his causeless mercy, he touched his conch shell to the forehead of Dhruva Maharaj, who stood before him with folded hands. The Personality Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, specifically gives a devotee intelligence to describe him. It is therefore understood that when a devotee writes or speaks about the Supreme Personality Godhead, his words are dictated by the Lord from within. This is confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita, 10th chapter. To those who constantly engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord from within dictates what to do next in order to serve him. So I guess that's the Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. When Dhruva Maharaj felt hesitant, not knowing how to describe the Lord for want of sufficient experience, the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, touched his conch shell to Dhruva's forehead, and he was transcendently inspired. This transcendental inspiration is called Brahma Maya. Because when one is thus inspired, the sound he produces exactly corresponds to the sound vibration of the Vedas. This is not the ordinary sound vibration of this material world. Therefore, the sound vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra, although presented in the ordinary alphabet, should not be taken as mundane or material. So these are transcendental vibrations, the spiritual vibrations. They're not of this world. They're from the spiritual world, and it's offense to think them as material or mundane. So at that time, Dhruva Maharaj became perfectly aware of the Vedic conclusion and understood the absolute truth and its relationship with all living entities. In accordance with the line of devotional service to the Supreme Lord, whose fame is widespread, Dhruva, who in the future would receive a planet which would never be annihilated, even during the time of dissolution. And he offered his deliberate and conclusive prayers. So Dhruva Maharaj never went to any school or academic teacher to learn the Vedic conclusion, but because of his devotional service to the Lord, as soon as the Lord appeared and touched his forehead, his conch shell, automatically the entire Vedic conclusion was revealed to him. That is the process of understanding Vedic literature. One cannot understand it simply by academic learning. The Vedas indicate that only to one who has unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, as well as the spiritual master, is the Vedic conclusion revealed. So with our endeavor, we get the mercy and we get the conclusion to the Vedas. We can't work them out ourselves with our mundane intelligence and mind and senses. We cannot get the conclusion or realization. Has to be given to us. Dhruva was only a child. He wanted to offer nice praise to the Lord, but because he lacked sufficient knowledge, he hesitated. But by the mercy of the Lord, as soon as the Lord's conch shell touched his forehead, he became completely aware of the Vedic conclusion. Actually, Dhruva Maharaj wanted to have the kingdom of his father, but his father refused even to allow him to get on his lap. In order to fulfill his desire, the Lord had already created a planet known as Pole Star, or now then it will be known as Dhruv. Before it was known as Pole Star, or we know it as Pole Star, but it will be known as Dhruv Tara or Dhruv, as we say, which was never to be annihilated, even at the time of the dissolution of the universe. So that's a eternal planet for Dhruva. So Dhruva said, "My dear Lord, you are all powerful. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses, my hands, legs, ears, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto you." So Dhruva Maharaj could not understand very easily the difference between his condition before and after attaining spiritual realization and seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He could understand that his life force and activities had been sleeping. Unless one comes to the spiritual platform, his body limbs, mind, and other facilities within the body are understood to be sleeping. And that seems to be like condition with most living entities. Unless one is spiritually situated, all his activities are taken as a dead man's activities or ghostly activities. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed a song in which he addresses himself. "O living entity, get up. How long shall you sleep on the lap of Maya? Now you have the opportunity of possessing a human form of body. Now try to get up and realize yourself." The Vedas also declare, get up, you have the opportunity, the boon of the human form of life. Now realize yourself. These are the Vedic injunctions. But the problem is, if you're really truly sleeping and somebody tells you to get up, then you might get up. But if you're just pretending to be sleeping and you're not really interested, then it's very difficult to get you up. If you want to get up, but you're sleeping, then somebody can wake you up. But if you don't want to get up, then nobody can wake you up. My Lord, so Dhruva Maharaj continues, "My Lord, you are the Supreme One, but by your different energies, you appear differently in the spiritual and material worlds. You create the total energy of the material world by your external potency. And after creation, you enter within the material world as the super soul. You are the Supreme Person, and through the temporary mode of material nature, you create varieties of manifestation, just as fire entering into wood of different shapes burns brilliantly in different varieties." So suddenly Dhruva Maharaj got all this knowledge come to him. It's only 5. He like says, hasn't been to school, hasn't acquired any knowledge, but suddenly he knows all these things. "Oh, my master, Lord Brahma is fully surrendered unto you. In the beginning, you gave him knowledge, and thus he could see and understand the entire universe. Just as a person awakens from sleep and visualizes his immediate duties, you are the only shelter of all persons who desire liberation, and you are the friend of all who are distressed. How, therefore, can a learned person who has perfect knowledge ever forget you? Persons who worship you simply for the sense gratification of this bag of skin are certainly influenced by your illusory energy. In spite of having you, who are like a desire tree and are the cause of liberation from birth and death, foolish persons such as me desire benedictions from you for sense gratification, which is available even for those who live in hellish conditions." So Dhruva is realizing his mistake, actually, that his desires are very low. "My Lord, the transcendental bliss derived from meditating upon your lotus feet or hearing about your glories from pure devotees is so unlimited that it is far beyond the stage of Brahmananda, wherein one thinks himself merged in the impersonal Brahman as one with the Supreme. Since Brahmanand is also defeated by the transcendental bliss derived from devotional service, then what to speak of the temporary blissfulness of elevating oneself to the heavenly planets, which is ended by the separating sword of time. Although one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, he falls down in due course of time. So when your good karma runs out, you come back into the material world. Oh, heavenly planet is still a material world, but into the lower planets, you come back and live your life again as you did before you went to the heavenly planets. So heavenly planets are like excursion. It's a special holiday if you've been good, and then once your good points run out, then you come back down again, and then you can suffer your bad points that you accumulated. Dhruva Maharaja continued, "O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly as the waves of a river constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the nascent ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire-like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastime, which are eternally existent. O Lord, who have a lotus navel, if a person happens to associate with a devotee whose heart always hankers after your lotus feet, seeking always their fragrance, he is never attached to the material body or in a bodily relationship, to offspring, friends, home, wealth, and wife, which are very, very dear to materialistic persons. He doesn't care for them. My dear Lord, O Supreme Unborn, I know that different varieties of living entities such as animals, trees, birds, reptiles, demigods, and human beings are spread throughout the universe, which is caused by the total material energy. And I know that they are sometimes manifest, sometimes unmanifest, but I never experience the supreme form I behold as I see you now. Now all kinds of methods of theorizing have come to an end. So he doesn't need to speculate anymore. He has seen the Lord himself. He doesn't need to just imagine what the Lord may look like. He can see in front of his eyes. My dear Lord, at the end of each millennium, the Supreme Person of Godhead, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, dissolves everything, manifested with the universe into his belly. He lies down on the lap of Sheshnag. From his navel sprouts a golden lotus flower on a stem, and on that lotus, Lord Brahma is created. I can understand that you are the same Supreme Godhead. I therefore offer my respectful obeisance unto you." Yeah, you would wonder why, he's telling Lord Narayan what he already knows, but he's saying that I now know as well, and I pay my obeisance unto such a Lord, who is capable of doing these things. My Lord, by your unbroken transcendental glance, you are the supreme witness of all stages of intellectual activities. You are eternally liberated. Your existence is situated in pure goodness, and you are existent in the super soul without change. You are the original personality of Godhead, full with 6 opulences, and you are eternally the master of the 3 modes of material nature. Thus, you are always different from the ordinary living entities. As Lord Vishnu, you maintain all the affairs of the entire universe, and yet you stand aloof and are the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. My dear Lord, in your impersonal manifestation of Brahman, there are always 2 opposing elements, knowledge and ignorance. Your multi-energies are continually manifest, but the impersonal Brahman, which is undivided, original, changeless, unlimited, and blissful, is the cause of the material manifestation. Because you are the same impersonal Brahman, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. And he continues to say, my Lord, O Supreme Lord, you are the supreme personified form of all benediction. Therefore, one who abides in your devotional service with no other desire, worshipping your lotus feet is better than becoming king and lording it over a kingdom. That is the benediction of worshipping your lotus feet. To ignorant devotees like me, you are the causelessly merciful maintainer, just like a cow who takes care of the newly born calf by supplying milk and giving it protection from attack. So that is the prayer by Dhruva Maharaj to Lord Narayan. Is, like I said, he's just telling Lord Narayan what he knows anyway, but he's just glorifying him that I know how great you are, and I surrender unto you. And that's the idea. This is what we are doing, that we glorify the Lord, and we tell him that yes, we are starting to understand your greatness, and we don't envy you. We worship you, we surrender to you. Because if you envy the Lord, or you think you can, you are also good as the Lord, then you will never understand him. Thank you so much for joining. My father-in-law ji, Hina Mataji, Rukmini Mataji, Partha Prabhu, and Praveen Mataji. Please give your realization or anything you like to add. Love to hear from you. Hina Mataji, first of all, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, everyone. Pranam, everyone. Thank you for the reading. Lovely, a really nice verse, Prabhu. I guess my only really realization, it was lovely. It was just in terms of the prayers and the words of Dhruv, such heartfelt words. It just reflects how advanced he is for such a young boy of his age. It just reflects his knowledge and his realization through his meditation, and that's reflected in the glories of Narayan, which it says in the prayers. And he obviously, at the end, he realizes that to worship the Lord's feet is far more higher and valuable than owning a kingdom. And I guess that's, for me, is like the key message from this verse, that is the highest wealth, and that is the highest goal. And it's such a rare thing when it's a rare thing to realize that. It's rare for any human to realize that. And I think that was the main message for me from that verse today, that just to keep that close to us, that worshipping the Lord's feet is more valuable than anything else in this world, this material world. Essentially, that's the highest wealth. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Absolutely. I mean, Dhruv is only 5 years old. It's very difficult for him. He came with the intention of acquiring his kingdom better than his father. Now, because he's 5, he doesn't have any knowledge of the Vedas. So Lord Narayan, actually through his mercy, helps him to realize, it's like he's giving a tip or a hint to him that, by the way, by touching the conch shell, he's giving him his knowledge of the Vedas, which Dhruv doesn't know. He hasn't never read the Vedas, but he's done him a favor by telling him, okay, you want a kingdom better than your father, but here's a clue that is not the best thing you can ask for. Here's something better. And suddenly, everything has come to his head, and he's got all this knowledge, and he's smart enough to now realize that, hang on, so this is better. He can make he's given the options now. Before, the only option was the kingdom. Now he's given 2 options. Do you want the kingdom, or you want Narayan? You want to surrender to Narayan? So he has still his option. He has free will, still his option to take. But he's a smart kid, and hopefully, we know that he makes the right choice in the end. And at the same time, this example is, we haven't read the Vedas. We don't have knowledge. We don't have the intelligence of Dhruva Maharaj. So the amazing thing is, by reading this, that what Dhruv acquired through the touching of the conch shell onto his head, Narayan is not going to come and touch his conch shell on our head. That's hardly likely to happen in the very near future. So, but Narayan is touching our forehead, by touching the forehead of Dhruva. Same thing. He's touching his head and he's giving him knowledge, and Dhruva has shared the knowledge with us, and Dhruva Maharaj has done us a favor. So now we know what Dhruva Maharaj knows and what Narayan has told Dhruva Maharaj. So indirectly, Narayan has touched our foreheads with conch shell as well. Thank you, Mataji. Rukmini Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
I like the sentence, how long will you sleep in the lap of Maya?
Yeah.
But we all material people, is difficult to go, but still we are lucky. We have joined the ISKCON and we are chanting, and we are all following all the rules of the bhakti. So we have got a lot of benefit by joining the ISKCON. So I don't think that I think we won't be fail. So we just go on doing our chanting and bhakti and reading of scriptures. Nowadays we are doing the Bhagavatam. So that is more beneficial for us. So I think God will help us, and no more Maya. We'll get out of the Maya. We are trying by hearing you. So we are in good association, so we don't have to fear. That's all, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Yeah, it's the knowledge has been given. It comes from the Lord Himself, and then the knowledge is passed on to His pure devotees, and then they pass it on. It's like disciplic succession. The knowledge is passed on from one hand to another, but still the same knowledge. The knowledge does not change, and that's why it's better to have a disciplic succession, because the same knowledge is passed on from one person to another, and it reaches us, and it's very important knowledge. Same knowledge is, like I said, as Dhruva Maharaj was getting. So we're getting the same thing. Thank you, Mataji. Partha Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, such a nice class. And I was also, I want to echo the same which Hemlata Machaji mentioned now. Like, if somebody wants to sleep, they don't want to come up, then there is no option. They have to wish to come out of that Maya, then anything can happen. And the points you mentioned on blessing are very nice, Prabhuji. That's all.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Absolutely right. Absolutely. Praveen Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam to everyone. My mind's just gone blank now. It's just the feeling, when Dhruva Maharaj is seeing the Lord, it is just so nice, and we are very fortunate, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada, to give us this, movement. And just if we perfect our chanting and meditate on the Lord in our heart at Shyam Sundar, we will certainly, and our spiritual master, I'm sure they will put a conch shell on our head. And, it gives me hope now that we don't need academic knowledge. And, because I always feel that, I'm not good at reading and not retaining. But yeah, I think I need to just concentrate on perfecting my chanting, and then that will help. Like Mataji said, we are very, very fortunate to have this. So certainly Narayan is very, very merciful. And through yourself, Prabhuji, we're hearing this nectar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. So, as I was saying, Narayan has already put a conch shell on our head, because we know what Dhruva Maharaj knows, right? So it's the thing. So Dhruva Maharaj put a conch shell on, Narayan has put a conch shell on Dhruva Maharaj's head, and then he acquired this knowledge. Now that knowledge has been shared with us. So it's just good as Narayan putting the conch shell on our head, right? Now, it's our choice whether we accept it or not. because for bhakti, there's two qualifications are very important. But one is faith. We need some faith because our faith, gets easily disturbed. One is faith, and second is non-enviousness to Krishna. Very important that we are not envious of God, because we want to be God. It's natural that we want to be lords because we are under illusion. That's why we're here. We want to be the lords ourselves. Very easily done. And so we can control these things, be non-envious, and have some faith, and then the knowledge is there, is provided for us. Now, if we make the first endeavor, then Krishna will give us more mercy to reach him. That's the thing. Narayan?
Hare Krishna, everyone. Yeah, such nice pastimes, and just thinking about these pastimes and just meditating on them gives us so much strength. And I was hearing in one of the classes from Srimad Bhagavatam that, like Praveen Mataji was saying about the retention of what we hear, in Canto 2, Chapter 2, verse number 34, it is said that by chanting and by caring for God and his devotees, when our heart will get softened, slowly, like we say, get purified. Purified means that our hearts will get softened, we'll be always caring for Lord and his devotees, and then this retention of knowledge will be there. Like we see that in exalted devotees and our gurus, how easily for them it is to, tell us anything or everything what we want to know. They just give us the reference, this is this and this is that. So when our heart will get purified, when our heart will get softened, this retention of knowledge will always be there. We'll be always in touch with Lord. Maya will not be able to encroach upon us, upon our senses. Our senses will be totally dedicated to Lord then. So I thought what I was hearing ties up very nicely with today's pastimes. So here's what I learned. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you so much. Let's do a couple of nice rounds. We'll start with Rukmini Mataji, first one, Praveen Mataji, second round, please. Let's really concentrate on these rounds, focus on these rounds, and associate with the Lord himself, because he's absolutely, even this holy name, that's Krishna himself. So let's, like Praveen Mataji said, let's associate Shyam Sundar in the heart. Hare Krishna. And Rukmini Mataji.